Hello there, this is John Sluis with Trust CPA. Thank you for joining. We're going to go into a little bit of some upcoming deadlines here, a few things to think about as you pull your paperwork together for tax season, and just dive into a few items. Well, not going to go into a lot of detail here. We are in the heart and thick of tax season here, doing definitely compliance type work right now. 1099s are past us. We've got sales and use deadline coming up here in 7 days. So if you have not filed your annual sales and use tax return, that's something you should really be thinking about. PPTs are done and past us now. So now we're really on to businesses and individual income tax returns. It's the meat of what most people think about when they're thinking taxes. Definitely dealing with compliance type items. There's not a lot of time for right now for tax planning. This is where we really push people to be thinking about tax planning earlier, before year end, because that's when we can really be doing things, where now it's a little bit late. There's certainly some things that we're going to be doing when we talk things through as we get through your tax return, and some things we can do this year, but for the most part, a lot of that is past. And so what I'm going to come to you today right now on are some things that we're seeing in the tax preparations that have already come in that you might want to keep in mind as you might be pulling some of the things together. One is we're still seeing information trickle in from various government agencies and various reporting agencies. So if you have not gotten everything, don't be surprised. You're not alone. The state of Michigan unemployment is just pushing out their unemployment notices. Many financial institutions, so Fidelity, Vanguard, Ameritrade, those are pushed out. Those were due, like the investment statements were due February 18th out to you. And so those probably are out there now. That for many people is kind of that last thing that they're waiting for before they drop things off. We're definitely starting to tell people, don't be afraid to bring things in. Once you get things substantially pulled together, feel free to drop them off. We're definitely going through that stage right now where people are coming in and bringing information in much faster than it's going out. That's the typical phase where we're at right now. So I say that because I think it's good for you to know that you can bring items in, even if you don't have everything. Don't bring it too early, like don't piecemeal it in, because then it becomes less efficient for you and for us and you're making lots of trips. But if you've got 95% of the activities and the items and statements, feel free to bring it in. We can get it going through the process. Because one of the important things to remember is it's not like it's an immediate thing. So we have a whole process here that we go through to make sure that your information is scanned in, pulled together, verified, and checked. And so it's not just a very quick item that it's not like you drop it off and boom, it's done the next day. So giving time to pull through that, because one of the big deadlines, and probably the biggest deadline out there to be aware of, is if you have a business, your business tax return is due March 15th. So that's if you have a separate business tax return. So a Schedule C, that's not the case here, like a single member LLC, that's not the case. But for every other businesses, so if you're a multi-member LLC or you have an S corporation, those are due, those pass-through tax returns are due March 15th, which essentially means that's when the individual tax return is due. Not always, but we really try to pull those together because they're so interconnected. And so if you have a business here and you don't have your information into us, you need to be getting into us sooner than later. And I say that because a lot of people have gotten used to having extensions here for the last 2 or 3 years, 2 years specifically, they've extended the deadline or extended the due date on the tax year. So last year it was May 17th, the year before it was July. We don't anticipate and we are not planning on getting an extension for tax returns this year. So make sure you're bringing your information in. And if you've got a business, your deadline is March 15th. And that's filing deadline, which means we have to have time to work through it. And then individuals is April 18th. Note I said the 18th, not the 15th. Actually, Washington D.C. observes Emancipation Day, and so there's a little bit of a extension there. So just share that with you so that you're kind of thinking about it. You're looking at items here as you pull it in. Don't hesitate to bring things in. A few other things to be thinking about here, and deadline based, if you will, is if we've been talking with you or you've been planning on making a S election this year, so maybe you're an LLC thinking of being taxed as an S corporation, those are due on March 15th as well. And so those are few and far between for the most part, but just be aware that that deadline's coming up, and so you're going to watch for that as well. I'm not coming to you with a whole lot of new information right now, and that's really because we're really in the thick of just getting tax returns out, and we're focusing more individual. Each one of you has your unique circumstance and things that we're working on right now versus just the generic overall items. There are some upcoming legislation, and not many, which is, as an accountant, probably one of the best things I can say about this tax season is we don't have a lot of new information, which of late seems to be the trend. We are seeing that the Michigan legislation has pushed through a proposal, and it's passed one side of the government, not the other one yet, on a proposed tax cut. So that's on the horizon. Nothing that we're focusing on right now at this particular moment, because that's just in general government process things. But for the most part, things are tried and true and working their way through the system. There is one last thing I'm going to mention here is that if you have a business flow through, and we've talked to you about doing the new flow through or flow through income tax, that's something that has to be elected here by March 15th as well. So most of these items we're talking to each respective client that as we're working through. We're actually enjoying this time of year because this is when we get to talk to you when you actually want to come in and see us. So we appreciate that. We're excited about seeing everyone as they drop things off. Don't hesitate to come in. Our offices are open. We're practicing safe distance and other things, but we welcome seeing you. If you want to send things in via your portal, or via the online access, the secure links, those are probably the most efficient way. But we welcome seeing you. Whatever method you can get us information, we're definitely taking information in right now and starting on the process. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to talking to you here very soon, hopefully on your tax return, and we can get things wrapped up for you soon as well. Thanks.